This week, Siskel&Ebert review Robert De Niro stalking Nick Nolte in Cape Fear. A mailroom clerk hustles his way up the corporate ladder in Strictly Business. And two kids wish for a happy family in All I Want for Christmas.
Leave my family alone, and if you don't get out of here, you're gonna be hurting like you never dreamed. Could you repeat that?
Defense attorney Nick Nolte is plagued by a criminal, Robert De Niro, who feels Nolte betrayed him in Martin Scorsese's remake of Cape Fear. One of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel&Ebert. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. When it comes to portraying sudden explosions of passion and violence, no director is more gifted than Martin Scorsese. And his new movie, Cape Fear, is a terrifying tragedy about an ex-convict who wants vengeance from the attorney he believes is responsible for a 14-year prison sentence. Robert De Niro stars as the ex-con who has returned after his prison term to intimidate and terrorize the family of Nick Nolte. De Niro is frightening and effective as an oily psychotic who knows how to get under people's skins. Here he confronts Nolte's wife, played by Jessica Lange.
Well, you're Max Katie, aren't you? You know, you better get the hell out of here before I call the police.
I'm not doing nothing. Just giving you back your dog collar. I'm not on your property.
What'd you come out here for? You want to look around? Go ahead, Mr. Katie. Take a good look.
Nice house.
Yeah, it is a nice house. You satisfied now? You seen it?
And here De Niro poses as a drama teacher, insinuating himself into the confidence of Nolte's daughter, played by Juliette Lewis. Her performance is a key to this movie because she's at war with her parents, and in a way, she is seduced by De Niro's forbidden appeal.
You thought about me last night, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Do you mind if I put my arm around you?
No one is at peace in this family where mother, father, and daughter are all alienated from one another. Even when Nolte tries to be a good father, he's carried away by his anger.
What are you laughing about? Why are you smiling? I'm asking you a question. Did he touch you? Then let that smile off your face. I'm asking you, did he touch you?
Cape Fear is based on a 1962 thriller starring Robert Mitchum as the ex-con, and he appears in this one as a cop who advises Nolte to take the law into his own hands. But Scorsese has turned up the heat under that original story. He's also made it very difficult for us to identify with any of the characters. Everyone in this movie is flawed or dishonest in one way or another, including the Nick Nolte character, and the message seems to be that evil corrupts everyone who comes into contact with it. The scariest element of the film for me is De Niro's perverse charm as he persecutes this family. He is sadistic, he is evil, but like a wounded animal that cannot help its violent nature, he kind of gets under our skin. And it's also frightening the way the daughter seems seduced by the darkest and most satanic elements in her environment. She has a smile that's the most disturbing thing in the film. I thought the movie's final violent struggle went on too long and that De Niro's character talked too much when he should have been crazed with pain, but I think Cape Fear is a strong film, an unremitting portrait of evil in a world where good is not an option for anybody.
Yeah, the weakness of the picture, I thought, was the ending, which did go on, and there were some jokes when it talks about 2 lawyers going at it and all that. I think that, that he's doing a little bit of David Lynch's kind of material, but he does it with such big stars that it doesn't play as right, it doesn't play as jokey. But for me, the picture was more about the classic Scorsese theme of a man who's a sinner trying to redeem himself, washing, as we see in the movie, washing literally the blood off of his hands. The sin, of course, of infidelity in the marriage, the sin of all kinds of mixed feelings about his wife and his daughter, and then, of course, the sinning professionally by not doing everything he should have done as a lawyer to protect this client. And for me, that was the most frightening character. Nick Nolte, a very restrained, average man kind of performance, average man kind of guy. And and can he get out of this mess?
And Nolte is very good in this film.
Yes, he is.
In fact, the acting throughout the film
He doesn't go over the top.
No, he doesn't, no.
Stays tight.
But you're quite right that this is a Scorsese film because, of course, the traditional treatment of this story would have been Nolte as the good guy trying to protect his family, and the family bands together behind him, and here's this crackpot outside. But in this film, the evil is inside everyone, and they're all trapped in the same kind of hell.
Okay, our next film is a modest but entertaining comedy called Strictly Business about a young, street-smart black man who wants to make it from the mailroom to the boardroom of a big New York real estate company, but he dresses sloppily and is generally an embarrassment to the leading black executive in the company.
I work in the mailroom, man. What am I supposed to wear, Armani suit?
No, but you don't have to speak and dress so, how do I put this?
Black?
Well, yes, black.
Eventually, the kid, played by Tommy Davidson, convinces the executive, Joseph C. Phillips, to loosen up. The reason is the executive wants to date a female club manager the kid knows.
Look, don't you need bike-head all man.
If you mean trendy clothes, no, they're a waste of money.
Well, look, if you want to get next to Natalie, who is definitely high level, you're going to have to spend some big bucks.
The lady is played by beautiful Halle Berry, who also played a drug addict in Spike Lee's Jungle Fever. So we got a number of stories going on here. The kid trying to make it, the executive trying to make it, and the business world swirling around both of them. Strictly Business is just a cut above TV in its aspirations, but I enjoyed the way these newcomers to the movies, these actors, played out their stories. Thumbs up for me.
You know, I can't quite give a thumbs up, but I share a lot of your affection for the relationships here. And the whole story is kind of like one of those Universal International comedies from the 50s with Doris Day and Rock Hudson in it.
See, that's what
where the guy will do anything in order to get an introduction to this girl, and so therefore the office boy gets a raise and so forth. And that's kind of charming.
That's exactly the basis that I thought it was. This is a throwback to the kind of programmer B-movie, but this is very well made, and it's about characters that we don't see that often.
Another thing, maybe from a sociological point of view, this movie and a couple of other movies that have come out recently show a different orientation in black-oriented stories.
Middle
because
class.
Here, instead of the middle-class guy being at fault and he has to learn how to get down with the street dudes, here you have the kid in the mailroom who wants to wear a suit and tie and get ahead in the corporation. It shows a different aspiration than the movies that we saw during the 80s.
If you like this picture enough, you should have given it a thumbs up. Later in the show, we're going to be reviewing two very different movies, the horror thriller The People Under the Stairs, and coming up next, All I Want for Christmas.
Now, of course you realize it's awfully late in the season for such a big order.
But I know you'll do it. You have to. I want you to say hi to Snowball.
And who's Snowball?
This friend of mine.
And I bet you're the only one who could see Snowball, right?
Oh, no, you can see him, too. Here.
Holy! Get that away from me!
All I Want for Christmas tells the story of those two kids in their battle to keep that nerd behind the wheel from marrying their mother. It's a heart-rending story, potentially, but it ain't heart-rending in this movie, which is a frontal assault on the intelligence of the audience. The kids want their mom to remarry their dad, who used to be a yuppie, but has now abandoned all of that to open his own Manhattan diner. I thought that's what yuppies did, was open Manhattan diners. The kids have moved in with their rich grandmother, played by Lauren Bacall, and here they try to sabotage their mother's wedding plans.
Sorry, folks. Just Sylvia. This is my second marriage, and I was thinking if we could just keep it simple. Excuse me.
The little girl figures she made a mistake by asking Santa to let her parents get married again without specifying that they should marry each other.
Oh, you're back.
I'm back.
You wouldn't want something easy, would you? Like a nice doll. I have dolls you wouldn't believe.
Can I use the lap?
Sure.
Okay. Now, we really gotta talk.
Then the little girl there teams up with her brother in a plan to get their mom and dad alone together, because if they spend the night, maybe they'll fall in love again.
I have to go.
Or stay.
Yes.
It's a blizzard out there. It's Christmas. You never get a cab. I'd go downstairs and make you a burger and fries.
I'm not hungry. And I really shouldn't stay.
You might recognize Thora Birch there, who was good in the recent film Paradise, but she sure does have her work cut out for her with this idiotic screenplay. How idiotic is it? At the end of All I Want for Christmas, when everyone gathers at Grandma's house, there's an ambulance parked out in front with its lights flashing because a house guest is having a baby on the kitchen floor, but nobody ever asks what the ambulance is doing there, and everybody is so distracted by the happy ending they forgot to even ask if the woman ever had her baby. All I want for Christmas is to forget that I ever saw this movie.
Oh, so clever with the title.
I think probably every critic in the country is going to use that same line. I hope I was first.
I'll criticize it. Those are relatively small points. How about that there isn't an attractive character in the movie? They're all worthless. And here's another thing that's wrong with the picture. The husband and the wife, who are estranged at this point, they're perfectly nice when we see them getting together.
They have no reason to be estranged.
That's number one.
They still
and number
like each
two,
other.
the jerk that she's with is a complete jerk.
Yes, he is.
So why you got to write one scene in where the guy's a jerk, who she's not with, and the guy is nice, who she is with.
Yeah,
and they didn't write
the
those
tension,
things.
and then you have to have a mistake so it can be corrected.
Please.
There's nothing wrong at the beginning of the film.
Either relationship, all the characters, and plus your little points.
Okay, thank you very much for those kind remarks about my little points. Coming up next, an old city building holds the secret of a sexual murder in a new thriller called Liebestraum.
Paul, that's a cast iron building out there. I mean, it's crazy to knock it down.
That's the fine young actor Kevin Anderson in the new thriller Liebestraum from the stylish, exciting English director Mike Figgis. Anderson, who played Julia Roberts' savior boyfriend in Sleeping with the Enemy, stars as an architecture preservationist in Liebestraum. He travels to a dying New England town to visit his dying mother, from whom he's been separated since birth. She's played by Kim Novak in a rare movie appearance.
Do you have a cigarette? No, I don't. You don't smoke. Sometimes.
You smoke 2 packs a day. They won't let me smoke yet, though. They say it's bad for my health.
While he's in town, he stumbles into a former college classmate, played by Bill Pullman, now a real estate developer, about to tear down the cast iron building, which was the site years ago of a lover's quarrel and murder.
Everything is done. We have dates. We have contracts. In 6 months' time, there is going to be a busy, successful shopping mall over here, the Ralston Center.
The scholar is drawn to the real estate developer's wife, played seductively by Pamela Gidley.
It's very kind of you.
You're looking a little sad. I hope it's not too late.
I don't think so. I can fix sad roses.
They're very exciting together, and Mike Figgis always has exciting psychosexual relationships going on in his pictures. And in all of Mike Figgis's movies, Stormy Monday and Internal Affairs, he delves very deeply into his characters' sexuality and their violent impulses, as well as the work that they do. So we learn about architecture, about the secrets of the building, about sexual tension between the characters, and the way that the sins of the fathers are passed down to the children in the film's conclusion. Figgis has also created the moody music for this picture, which plays like a highly charged sexual dream, and I got caught up in it completely. I like his work a lot.
I like his work a lot too, Gene, but I didn't like this work nearly as much as his first 2 films. I wasn't so excited, for one thing, that I learned about architecture. I don't think I really did.
You know what I like about that, Roger, is that at least he makes the effort to, in terms of the police work and internal affairs and here and the club ownership. At least he writes sequences and scenes that deal with the kinds of things that people talk about. So we do learn a little bit about cast iron buildings. You didn't know all that stuff.
I did know a lot more about cast iron buildings than I learned in this movie. But apart from that, the movie is all atmosphere, Gene. The plot is absolutely predictable from the beginning. Whenever you have a situation like this, you almost can guess the secret of the film, which I guessed, as I almost always do, long before anybody in the movie figured it out. All those flashbacks got to be a little bit annoying because they show you and they don't show you. It was essentially what this movie reminded me of was an inferior Dead Again, and I can't believe that you like this movie better than Dead Again, which I think is 10 times better. It's the same business of passion in the present connected to passion and murder in the past. Okay. And it's disappointing for Mike Figgis.
All right, let me tell you why I like this picture without reviewing Dead Again.
Which you might profitably do.
The reason I like it is because I don't even care about the payoff in this sequence, in this film.
Just like the style.
I like the style, and I like the reality of these three characters in the present. What happened in the past almost isn't that even important to me. It's just an excuse to bring them together.
In other words, you like this movie for reasons totally disconnected with why the director made it or why any audience would ever go to see it. You liked it without caring about the mystery, but because you learned about cast iron architecture.
What I'm saying is that I said you brought up the obviousness of the mystery, and I'm saying throw out that you throw it out and you still have fascinating characters.
I don't think that's going to satisfy very many people. When we come back, Wes Craven's latest excursion into depravity, The People Under the Stairs.
You know the punishment for losing silverware?
I'm sure it's right here.
Wes Craven, who has a great name for a director of horror films, is a filmmaker whose credits include Last House on the Left, The Hills Have Eyes, and Swamp Thing. Those are all horror movies, but there's something else, too. He always has some kind of a twist to make things more interesting. And his new movie is named The People Under the Stairs. And no matter whether you like it or not, you haven't seen anything quite like it before. The movie takes place inside a former funeral home where a young girl is held prisoner by two sadistic lunatics who call themselves mother and father, even though they're actually brother and sister.
Alice has been bad. She's been feeding that thing between the walls again.
No.
A young boy played by Brandon Adams breaks into the house and prowls around, discovering that the basement is inhabited by a lot of weird prisoners. The kid tries to help rescue the imprisoned young girl in a house where all the walls are honeycombed with secret passages and ventilation ducts.
Father's one sick mother, you know that? Actually, your mother's one sick mother, too.
I'm tempted to say I like this movie because we learned so much about drywall construction in it, but never mind. That kid has so many tricks up his sleeve as he outsmarts those adults that they ought to call this movie Funeral Home Alone. I didn't much like The People Under the Stairs, but then movies about houses of terror with cannibals in the basement are not exactly my favorite genre. But nevertheless, I do want to give Wes Craven credit here for making a movie that does create a distinctive visual world that employs some mordant humor and is even politically correct, since the hero and his family are about to be evicted by those ghoulish people who are slumlords. It has qualities in it that I admire, even though I didn't think the film quite worked.
Well, you know what? This picture I found exciting, repellent, particularly where there's the guys running around in leather harness because of the S&M relationship between him. And there's another sequence where he threatens their little girl in the house that I thought, at least they didn't get explicit, but I thought, you know, if he had cut that out, I'm still recommending the picture, because if you like this kind of picture, he does it as well as you can imagine.
Yes, it's true. At least it's not another mad slasher movie.
This one is there is some wild humor here, and if you like the pictures. God, the one with all the zombies walking around.
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the
Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead. This has the same kind of style as this picture. I think it's very good. I read one review by another critic, Dave Kerr, in the Chicago Tribune, who said that it's a Reaganomic film because they look like Reagan and Nancy. They look like Reagan and Nancy as the killers, and they have got all the working class people oppressed in the basement. And I thought that was a fabulous review, and I like the picture more because of that.
And to think that I didn't review it on the basis of the drywall construction. Isn't that amazing? I missed that whole political element there. Coming up next, our video pick of the week, two other fine films from director Mike Figgis, who directed Liebestraum.
If you were intrigued by our divided review of the new thriller Liebestraum just a few minutes ago, you might want to check out the other two feature films directed by Mike Figgis, both available on home video. In the smart and tricky Stormy Monday from 1988, Tommy Lee Jones plays a ruthless American businessman trying to take over a jazz club in England with the help of the reluctant Melanie Griffith.
Can I talk to you?
Sure.
Hello.
Bob, what time are we supposed to meet, what's his name?
Counsel Perry's waiting for us in the office now.
And in Internal Affairs from last year, Richard Gere dared to play a despicable detective who took out his hostility on his fellow cops by sleeping with their wives.
She's very pretty, too. No, she's very, very pretty. It's a little skinny for my taste, but these skinny ones give good so.
What I like about both of those pictures and Mike Figgis' work is that he's willing to put the dark side of characters on screen. So many movies today are homogenized and sanitized. These aren't TV shows. These are adult movies that he makes, and I recommend them on home video. both of them. Now let's recap the movies we reviewed on this show. 2 thumbs up for Martin Scorsese's Cape Fear. The hyper-violence goes on a little too long, but otherwise, this is a compelling exercise in sin, guilt, and redemption. A split vote on Strictly Business, the romantic comedy about blacks in the business world. I thought it was slight, but good fun. Roger thought it just missed. 2 thumbs down, way down, for All I Want for Christmas, the terribly written and cast holiday picture. A split vote on Mike Figgis' Liebestraum. I enjoyed its charged sexuality. Roger thought it was all style, no substance. And another split vote on Wes Craven's The People Under the Stairs, which we both found original, but Roger can't recommend, and I'm not exactly sure why.
Well, I tried to make it as clear to you as I could, Gene, and I can continue after the show. But in the meantime, we both like the Scorsese film very much. Okay. And that's it for this week. Next week, we'll be back with Beauty and the Beast, the latest Walt Disney animated feature, with songs by the same people who wrote the songs in The Little Mermaid.
There's something sweet. Straighten up. And almost kind.
Show me the smile.
But he was mean, and he was coarse and unrefined.
And also Meeting Venus, starring Glenn Close as a temperamental opera star in a troubled production. That's next week. And until then, the balcony is closed.
Lady Stetson, the all-American fragrance for today's spirited woman. Lady Stetson, a declaration of independence. It's America's favorite jelly bean, Jelly Belly, now appearing at theaters and video stores with good taste. Jelly Belly beans, try them, you'll love them. Purina Puppy Chow brand puppy food, with more nutrition than most adult dog foods for a healthy start. Pet tested, veterinarian recommended. For the man who's good at making a woman feel great, Pierre Cardin Man's Cologne.